Hello, my name is Professor Anthony Rizzi with the Institute for Advanced Physics. I want to talk to you, believe it or not, about Star Trek, the Empath, the episode The Empath. This episode, like many things, especially written pre-65, has a lot of Christian allegory in it, and I want to introduce you to some of that. This story is called The Empath, and it's about a woman named Jem. The show begins with the backdrop of this solar system whose planets populate, there's like 5 of the planets that are populated with people. And what's going to happen is their sun is going to nova, which means it's going to explode and blow up all the planets and kill all the people. The show is about an alien race that comes in and wants to save, but only has the capacity to save one of those civilizations. So you'll see that they play, in one sense, the role of the God saving civilization. In another sense, you'll see they're evil. The primary role, the allegory I want you to see is to come. What happens to start the show off is the Federation is on one of these planets, and 2 men are down in the bowels of this planet. And one of them is grumbling about how the planet is God-forsaken, they say. And, well, the other one says, in response, because the earth, at the same time that the man says that, the earth groans with a quake. It's not the earth, but it's earth-like planet. And the other man says, his hand controls the boughs of the earth, which is a quote from Psalms. And he gives the verse. Again, signaling the allegories to come, which is this is going to be about the hand of God at the center. And we know he's the center holding creation in existence. And the next thing that happens is that Kirk, Spock, and McCoy beam down to find these men dead. And these 3 are to represent the Trinity, as you will see. And the way they represent the Trinity is by, as the aliens will say later, you represent all that is good and true and noble. And Jem, the woman they find on this planet, in a ball on a cross-shaped table, is one of the civilizations that they want to save. And they say, you are to teach her. You are to be her teacher on how to be good and true and noble. And Jem, which is what the name they give her, she doesn't speak, is balled up, and she sees Kirk with a wound on his head, and she touches the wound. And I'll speak more of that later, but actually she feels the pain of that wound when she touches that wound. The 3 then are threatened by the aliens to be killed, because you see what the aliens are trying to do is torture these men so that Jem will learn, they think, compassion, because they only want to save a good race, which is, quite crazy, because they're the ones instigating this torture, so they obviously don't know what compassion is. But each of these men is willing to sacrifice his life for the other, and Jem, who already knows lots of this stuff, learns this even more. And this is just like the role the Blessed Mother plays in learning from Christ how to be holy. And what happens is that each of these men is tortured. First, Captain Kirk is hung like this, by his wrists. He comes down and is laid on this table, the cross-shaped table, and Jem comes and touches his body and takes on the pain. Literally, you see in the show that the pain and the wound on the wrist transfers from him, disappears on him, appears on her, and the pain is seen in her face. This then is repeated with McCoy, who is near death, and she comes to him and is willing to give her life, but then backs away, but then comes back and is ready to finish healing him at the expense of her own life. And the aliens aren't willing to save the planet unless Jem gives her life. But McCoy, who's now been revived enough, realizes what's happening and won't let her give her life, pushes her away, and says, no, you will die, because he knows what's happening. He knows that his death is being transferred to her, which is exactly what happens with Christ, which Mary in turn imitates, because she gets the sword that hits him, as mothers all know. And she then what ensues is that Captain Kirk and and Mr. Spock convince the aliens of their error, and they change, and they use their power to save them both. And at the end of the show, on the Enterprise, the men are amazed, and they're expressing their amazement to the rest of the crew. What an amazing woman this was. And Scotty says, do you not know the story of the pearl of great price? That pearl, and this is the pearl that Christ talked about, in which the man sold everything he had to get the pearl of great price, which of course is the kingdom of heaven that our Lord talked about. And of course the Blessed Mother represents that path to the kingdom of heaven. And this woman, at the end of the show, she goes up with the aliens out of sight, with them looking up. So you see, the symbolism is rampant of Christian symbolism, deep Christian symbolism of the sacrificial nature of our living and our path to holiness and our imitation of Christ, which is expressed in the Mass, where we join all of our sufferings with the suffering of Christ in growing in truth and love of our Creator. So please remember that these shows, watch this show, look at it in this new light, but remember these shows, especially pre-65 shows, be careful after, but before, watch these shows, look for these things. It's in the heart of people that wrote them, despite what they might proclaim, to say these kind of things and build them into shows. Thank you for listening.